A Boston police officer is dead. The woman accused of killing him walked out of court, acquitted of murder. The lead investigator was fired for misconduct. And now Karen Reed has filed a federal lawsuit claiming she was framed from the start. A jury decided Reed did not murder John O'Keefe. But if she did not, what actually happened outside 34 Fairview Road in the early hours of January 29, 2022? At approximately 6 a.m. on January 29, 2022, in the aftermath of a severe blizzard, Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found unconscious in the snow outside 34 Fairview Road, the home of fellow officer Brian Albert. Karen Reed, O'Keefe's partner, made the 911 call. Paramedics rushed O'Keefe to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The evening before began at the Waterfall Bar and Grill in Canton, where O'Keefe, Reed, and a group of friends, including local police officers and their spouses, gathered for drinks. Around midnight, the party moved to Albert's home. Reed stated she dropped John O'Keefe off in the driveway and drove away. Hours later, John O'Keefe was found freezing on the front lawn. While his family remains convinced that Reed struck him with her SUV, the defense argues John O'Keefe was beaten inside the home, a theory that remains unproven. The Massachusetts State Police assigned Trooper Michael Proctor as the lead investigator, despite supervisors knowing he had personal connections to people inside the Albert home. Proctor arrived at 34 Fairview Road that morning, but never searched the house for blood, fingerprints, or biological evidence. He testified he did not seek a warrant because he believed from the outset that Reed's vehicle struck O'Keefe. While the prosecution maintained these texts did not alter the physical evidence, the defense used them to argue the investigation was compromised by bias from day one. In March 2025, the state police fired Proctor for unprofessional conduct. Though Reed was acquitted of murder, O'Keefe's family maintains the verdict denied them justice. The core question remains unanswered. What happened on that dark, snowy lawn in the early hours of January 29th? At the center of the physical case lies a single object, the right rear taillight of Karen Reed's Lexus SUV. Following the discovery of John O'Keefe's body, police seized the vehicle from Reed's family home. Over the next 3 weeks, investigators recovered 37 red and clear plastic fragments from the snow outside 34 Fairview Road. State forensic analysts tested these shards, finding DNA on the material. The prosecution argued this forensic link proved a high-energy impact, claiming Reed's SUV shattered its taillight when it struck John O'Keefe. However, the defense disputed this timeline, pointing to the shifting condition of the taillight itself. Dighton Police Sergeant Nicholas Barrows, who assisted in securing the Lexus on January 29th, testified that the light initially showed only minor damage, describing it as a crack with a missing portion about the size of $1. When shown a photograph taken later inside the Canton police garage showing the lens completely smashed out, Barrows testified that was absolutely not the condition he observed before the vehicle was transported. This discrepancy fueled the defense's argument that the vehicle was damaged after police took custody, suggesting the fragments were later planted at the scene. To explain why the pieces were recovered over a 3-week span rather than all at once, the prosecution pointed to the historic blizzard, asserting that heavy snow buried the evidence and delayed its recovery. Both sides continued to offer incompatible explanations for the damaged plastic, leaving the true origin of the physical evidence unresolved. Digital footprints from John O'Keefe's iPhone further complicated the timeline. Between 12:21 and 12:24 in the morning, his Apple Health app recorded 80 steps and 3 flights of stairs. While witnesses testified O'Keefe never entered the Albert home, the defense argued this movement proved he walked up the front steps. The Massachusetts State Police countered with GPS data, arguing his phone remained inside Reed's vehicle during those same minutes. Inside the home, Brian Albert kept a German Shepherd named Chloe. Defense expert Dr. Marie Russell testified that gashes on O'Keefe's right arm were consistent with a dog bite, but prosecution experts disputed this, citing a lack of puncture wounds and pointing to vehicle impact. This canine attack theory remains entirely unproven. Further questions arose from waterfall bar surveillance, which captured a tense exchange between O'Keefe and ATF agent Brian Higgins before the group departed. Later, Canton snowplow driver Brian Logren passed the home multiple times, starting at 2:15 in the morning, and saw no body. The defense used this to suggest O'Keefe was placed on the lawn later, while the prosecution argued the driver was pressured, leaving the timeline unresolved. The retrial of Karen Read commenced in April 2025. Over more than 30 days of intense testimony, both sides presented their competing timelines and forensic arguments to a new jury. Following 4 days and 21 hours of deliberation, the panel returned its verdict on June 18, 2025. Read was acquitted of second-degree murder, motor vehicle manslaughter while operating under the influence, and leaving the scene of a fatal collision. The jury convicted her only of operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol, resulting in a sentence of 1 year of probation. While the legal system cleared Read of homicide, the O'Keefe family condemned the outcome, calling the split decision a miscarriage of justice. Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan expressed deep disappointment with the split verdict, maintaining that the evidence led to only one person. The criminal case against Read has ended, but it leaves the core mystery completely unresolved. The question of what actually happened to Officer John O'Keefe on that dark, snowy lawn remains unanswered. On June 4, 2026, Karen Read filed a federal lawsuit against the Massachusetts State Police and the Canton Police Department. Her complaint alleges a systemic frame-up, claiming investigators planted evidence, deleted surveillance video, pressured witnesses, and allowed personal relationships to corrupt the investigation from the beginning. In a January 2026 court filing, former lead investigator Michael Proctor denied any conspiracy, but he admitted a key detail. He did not search the Albert house for blood, fingerprints, or DNA on the night John O'Keefe died. Proctor has not been criminally charged. The legal fallout extended to the prosecution itself. Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan, whose billable fees totaled $566,000, expressed disappointment with the verdict, publicly condemning what he called a campaign of witness abuse. In January 2026, Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey announced he would not run for re-election. Meanwhile, the O'Keefe family's wrongful death lawsuit against Read remains active as she fights to dismiss it. Read and her attorney Alan Jackson have partnered with LBI Entertainment to develop a book and film project. As of June 2026, the federal civil case against the police continues, keeping the mystery of 34 Fairview Road open in the courts. The physical, digital, and testimonial evidence never fully formed one clean story. While the jury's verdict ended the criminal prosecution, clearing Karen Read of homicide, it did not resolve what happened outside 34 Fairview Road. For the O'Keefe family, who believe Read struck John with her sport utility vehicle, the acquittal brought no peace. For Read, who alleges police misconduct, the battle continues in federal court. As civil lawsuits keep the contested records alive, the criminal case is closed, but the truth remains buried in the snow of January 29th. The core question of how a Boston police officer died on that lawn remains unanswered. Karen Read is acquitted, yet the O'Keefe family still fights for what they believe is justice. Without a conviction, the ultimate truth remains buried outside 34 Fairview Road. Until that night is resolved, a family's grief and a community's doubt endure. What do you think? Comment below.